We have another one. They're making us work with editing videos this week, aren't they? This is likely the Infinity Crusade Omnibus, because I can't think of anything else it would be, since the other omnibuses I have on order are through Forbidden Planet, or they are not due out until April. So let's just get it open. Really, why do they bother? Oh, God, heavy. It's heavy. Hey, look at that. A cover choice I didn't take issue with. Although there's a space there. I actually like this. The original cover, it had a foil gimmick. So it's nice to see them adapt the gold bit with flats. Let's remove the plastic. And the spine is black, which is good. But now it is even more of a bother that the Infinity Wilds one didn't have a black spine. Hashtag black spines matter. They didn't even have this on the Infinity Wilds one either. The cover gallery on the back. Let's take off the dust jacket. Underneath we've got the same thing. And then at the back we have some outrageous swiping from Todd McFarlane. Different image on the spine. That's interesting. I have wanted this omnibus for a while, but the truth is I mainly wanted it to round off the supposed trilogy rather than for any merit of the story. I actually kind of hate the story, to be honest. Most people are not big fans of this one. They think it is the dud of the 3 crossovers. And I don't really want to have another Debbie Downer unboxing video. But overall, the idea that this is the 3rd in a trilogy, I would disagree with. It is the 3rd in a sequence. I will not deny that. But this is not the 3rd part of the trilogy. This is just a Fania story that was made into a big crossover because they thought it would be another great seller for them. If you want the true 3rd part of the Infinity Trilogy, it is called Thanos The End. This is the 3rd part that builds on what came before and resolves and closes off the trilogy. There is all our contents. We have the main mini-series and then all the tie-ins. The premise of this is that Alan Watson, an aspect of his soul, is the bad guy. She is separate from Alan Watson, like how the previous crossover focused on Alan Watson's evil half. This one focuses on this half. However, she is not very interesting and not very exciting as a bad guy. And to make matters even worse, this crossover is structured around this divide that I really didn't like. I think it is smug and annoying. She basically appoints herself God and recruits a bunch of Marvel heroes to her side. The first issue is 40 pages of just that. Appearing before certain characters and mesmerising them. And they become her devoted acolytes. We have some major characters like Captain America, Spider-Man, Invisible Wife. Great characters. We have some of my favourites like The Flash, Us Agent, Wonder Man, and Moon Garden. And it becomes obvious that most the characters I like are on this side of the table. These heroes are all brainwashed slaves for the whole crossover and treat as the bad guys. Then we get onto the reason these heroes have been chosen. All these heroes have been selected because they are either religious or they believe in something. So this story is the smug atheist club bragging about how they didn't believe in God, and them being the heroes who have to save the day. Every time I discuss this, I point out I am not religious or spiritual myself. But one of my least favourite things in comics is the righteousness of atheist writers. This story is effectively casting anyone who is religious, anyone who has some form of faith. They are cast as the bad guys. They become brainwashed zealots willing to kill and drool for their god. Believers are shown to be weak people who are impossible to talk to and hold no moral values. I hate it, I really do. So on the good side, we have a few okay characters. But the real problem with this story is that by this point, Jim Starman had abandoned any pretense that he was writing a Marvel crossover involving Marvel characters. So this is just another story about how Thanos is perfect. We have characters like Mr. Fantasticals and Iron Man and Dr. X standing around talking about what a day, and they never really day out because they are tertiary to Thanos and Alan Watson. At least Infinity Gauntlets and Infinity Wilds found ways to include or incorporate the marquee Marvel characters. This one just has them hanging around the Avengers' house while Thanos is off tackling the plot. I'll focus on something I like. The art, Ron Lee, that is Stanley Lee's little brother. I didn't get that running joke either. His art is the saving grace for this. It is great to see him draw all these characters, although when it comes to characters, little elements and expectations of a third part in a trilogy are not met. A good example of this is in Infinity Gauntlets and Infinity Wilds. We featured Mr. Doom prominently. He was a supporting character in the first one, and he had a subplot thing in Infinity Wilds. He's not in this one at all. Kazar, exact same is true of him. He was in the first two and had a sizable role. He's not in this anyway. He's meant to be a big cosmic figure. He's not even involved in this cosmic crossover. His solo series doesn't even have a tie-in issue, but we will come to the tie-ins in a bit. Another one, and this is mostly cosmetic, 90s 4. He was in the first two, and between the last one and this, he had since stopped being the main four and spun off into his own book as 90s 4. He had major roles in the last two, and now he's not even anywhere in this. And it's not just a bunch of characters not returning for the third one. There is a lack of consistency with these crossovers. We have Spider-Man's best friend here, Satan, and he featured in the first one a lot, but he was nowhere to be seen in the second one. We also have the sad case of Silver Surfman. He started out as the character all these stories were spinning out of, and by this point he is just an extra in the background. Other than the two main characters being Thanos and Alan Watson, there's no here that makes it a true successor or a third part of this overarching Thanos story. This isn't payoff. This is just another Thanos story that should have been told as an Infinity Watch story, but they buffed it up to say that it was a crossover. So then we have the tie-ins, and the tie-ins to these events in the 90s are an interesting case. We had Infinity Gauntlets, which was a good story, but it had mostly crap tie-in issues. We had Infinity Wars, which was an okay story, but it had some decent tie-in issues. Then we have Infinity Cluedo, which is a mostly crap story, and it has mostly crap tie-ins. A lot of them are by Brett Kavanaugh. Unreadable garbage by him. Books you might want to see crossover, Divin. There is no Fantastic Force tie-in issue. There is no Captain America issue. Excellent Men, Hulk, Kaiser. We have 2 issues of Dartboard that are trying to spin a story out of nothing, or a West Coast Avengers story that has scant reference to the crossover. Doctor Strange, which usually at least offered something interesting during the past 2 events, it guns the dartboard route of trying to draw blood from a stone. This was a plot for a crossover that wasn't a plot for a crossover. I mean, it relegated off the Marvel Universe to being zealots, and the other half to sitting around wondering what a day. How are you meant to tie into that? Silver Surfman, as I said, it's sad to see Silver Surfman gone from the focus of these stories to inconsequential filler tie-ins drawn by Tom Grindbergers. The Alpha Strike issues are at least alright, and there's about 8 of them. I've probably lost all credibility by saying that I didn't mind them. I like Windshear, and he gets a solo story. I like Nemesis, and she's in it loads. And Saberclaw Jr. gets a story where he fights Wolfman. This just isn't the worst that Alpha Strike ever is. So then we have the extras. Maybe this will finally bring some positivity out. Yeah, these extras have brought the positivity out. There was this poster of it with Jim Starman art. I hope they include that somewhere. There is a cover to Marvel Age. Look, in the early planning stages, 90s 4 was there. There we go, there's that poster. It's a shame that they just swapped out 90s 4 for 4 instead of keeping them as 90s 4. Is Kaiser anywhere on here? Not seen that before. Ron Lee art for some magazine. There is that poster again. Ron Lee's pencils. Some more. Just what we've been clamouring to see. Tom Grindberger's pencils. remastered covers for some trade paperbacks, and 2 more. And there is a random cover from 2015 by Ron Lee. Used to have a poster of it on me wall. Here it is. See, here it is, I'm not lying. I wanted this because I had the first 2. I'm glad it got made, and now if I ever want to read it, I have this nice heavy hardcover collection with all the tie-in issues and stuff, but that doesn't make me like the story anymore. Great art for the main series, a disgusting amount of Tom Grindberger's art in this omnibus though. Mostly badly plotted and written, with occasional glimmers of quality. Most of the tie-ins are rubbish. I actually want to like this story, but I just didn't. I think you should read it if you haven't. Give it a try. Maybe you will get more out of it than I did. At the end of the day, it has got a black spine, so I'll give it a 7 thumbs up.